Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Deep Dive Discography. I apologize for our long absence. You might also notice that Aaron is not here. He had some stuff to take care of, so he asked me to lead the ship, and I have dropped the ball a lot, and I didn't do anything about it, so here we are 4 weeks later. You get what you get. We're going to try something a little bit different today. I have a guest with me, Mr. Alec McRae. Hello, Mr. Alec McRae. How are you?
I'm good, Mr. Marcus Arar. How are you?
Oh, I'm fantastic. Me and Alec have been friends for many moons, and we decided that instead of asking this poor man to prepare and do our format, we're just going to talk. We're going to talk about various topics that I might or might not have prepared depending on who you ask, and hopefully this will make riveting content to fill the void of Aaron Price while he is away attending to personal matters. So, in the meantime, hello.
So consider this your trigger warning, you snowflakes. We're going to cover woke culture.
No. No, we're not. We're not going to talk about the Little Mermaid. We're not going to talk about the Little Mermaid or Sasquatch or anything like that. Ideally not. Well, I don't know. We might go there. We'll see. How do we know each other?
I'm kidding, obviously.
He's kidding.
First time... Yeah, of course. No, the first time I remember meeting you was when we played in Deck Piss together.
I was going to say, I was thinking about you on the couch the other... Wait. I was thinking, I've known Alec for years, and he's been in my peripheral for years, but I couldn't identify what was our inciting incident of us just talking. I feel like one day we just were talking. And there's no thing in between that. It just one day was a thing that we started doing. Very organic.
Okay. Yeah, you mean after we were introduced, but when we actually started conversing regularly.
Yeah, because we played in, I guess Deck Piss, you can call for lack of better words, was a super group. It was just people from already established bands from the area. I know super group is is a funny way of putting it, but I mean, yeah, it was all people from established bands, and yeah, I was asked to play guitar. There was 4 guitar players all at once. It was me, you, and some other guys. Yeah, it was hilarious, and it was just loud, shitty fucking punk music. It was pretty cool. So we played together once. In fact, it's a very memorable time we played together for 2 reasons. Number one, it was February 29th. Which is an odd day. I never forget this, by the way. Number 2.
Shit, that's right.
Yeah, it was the leap year day. Yeah. And then the pandemic happened. Literally 2 weeks later, everything was shut down.
Yeah, that's right.
And somewhere between February 29th and now, we started talking. And now we play together in our own project, Wolf Leather, which is, all your music. And you just so graciously let me fuck it up.
I don't know, man. Your song's pretty fucking rad.
Oh, thanks, man. For those who don't know, I do write. And the song I pitched is called 300 Stab Wounds because I was listening to a lot of 200 Stab Wounds at the time, and I was like, I gotta rip this off. This is, pretty good material.
I think we picked that name because I accidentally said 300 Stab Wounds.
Yeah, it was something really dumb like that.
Because I just don't know. I don't know the band that well, so I just...
So you just
said the wrong number.
Yeah, and it just kind of stuck, right? And
Blink 183,
But you've done stuff for a while. This isn't going to be an interview, by the way, but just to kind of set up who you are, you do a lot of production. You're actually pretty decent at mixing, I think. You've played bass for Ending Tyranny, which perhaps some of our audience might be aware of.
Yeah, I played for them
many years ago.
4 years.
Yeah. It was but definitely before our friendship. A while ago.
Oh yeah. It's
because that band's not really together. So,
I mean, I've heard rumblings that they still are trying to get shit together. They're still writing stuff or whatever. But
I hear it all the time about. Everyone says that. I don't know. That's like some fucking that is some urban legend shit, man.
Yeah, why not have an air of I couldn't decide if I was saying mystery or mystique. An air of mysterique. Why not have that?
I also bet like bands like, I don't know, like Morbid Saint or Blind Witness are still writing music. I'm sure they are. Like, but yeah, you did production.
Ringo and Paul are still getting together every now and then.
Oh, I bet they are. I bet it's a huge priority. Yeah, you've done production stuff. You've played bass. You've played guitar for many years amongst our local music scene. And yeah, we just our paths crossed one day, and we both learned we were meme queens or something, and we just started talking on the internet.
One of us randomly messaged the other with a question about, I don't know if it was about like production or just, oh, what's your opinion on this band or something like that. It was really out of the blue, and then it just fucking snowballed, basically.
It was honestly probably you, because I have this weird tick about if I'm bothering people. So like I in my brain, when I message someone, I want them to message me back like almost immediately and be like, hell yeah, brother, like you are not wasting my time. But you see, because I get that to other people, which is a huge personal fault of mine. So it was likely you messaged me, and I actually like took it seriously and started conversating with you.
I mean, if we really want, we can just sit here and scroll and make people watch it.
Oh, that's a long time. I mean, we don't got to do that. That's a long conversation.
You're not in the mood for some anti-comedy? I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyways.
That's some deep references in our group chat of just all the shit we listen to and pontificate.
Yeah.
So I did actually come quasi prepared with talking points, and the one I was messaging you about earlier is like, and the title of this podcast episode is who stole Rodne Radke's laptop? Laptops plural. I'm gonna make it plural. Who stole the laptops, Alec? Because for those who don't know, Falling in Reverse was gonna play, I believe it was the Will Rock Festival. I think it's an American thing. I don't know what the fuck that is. But anyways, they canceled their.
Okay.
Oh, you know what?
Now I remember.
Yeah. So they canceled
the headline. I didn't read about it.
Oh, okay. So they canceled their performance, and so the singer of Falling in Reverse, Rodne Radke, who was in Escape the Fate, now Falling in Reverse is his big thing, and they're rather popular. He goes on TikTok.
I know their one song.
Yeah. They I don't remember their old stuff. I actually only know their new singles, honestly. But anyways,
I don't even know what qualifies to do for them. Sorry, I'll stop cutting you off.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, so he goes on TikTok and says, "Hey guys, we canceled because a bunch of our computers got stolen, and that's a huge part of our show. So like, my bad." And the internet ran with it, and I have a feeling I know what you think about this, because we probably have the same opinion, which is me and Alec talk about this a lot. A lot of people online really like to talk about stuff they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And this is Exhibit A through Z, or Z for our American listeners. Yeah,
I mean,
dude.
Is it? I hate to say this. I know this is kind of a deep cut, but the very first thing I'm thinking is just replying in like a super jokey boomer manner.
Yeah, we were on some.
Why don't you use a real Marshall, brother? All you need is a Marshall and a Gibson. That's all Eric Clapton needed when he invented the blues. Like some dumb shit like that.
Plug straight into the amp. No pedals. Yeah, me and Alec hang out on some anti-boomer forums, particularly related to guitar gear. But yeah, dude. Yeah, I think people need to shut the fuck up, because I think, especially when you're playing more of like poppy metalcore, kind of post-hardcore kind of shit, there's a huge production value involved with so much of this, especially like big festival bands, man. Like, you're fucking high if you think you've ever seen Behemoth or Meshuggah and there hasn't been a computer somewhere in that live rig.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, people need to get fucking real about this. I get so... My panty's getting a huge twist about this, man. Because you know what it is, too? It's like, it's just classic, just fucking musician purist kind of stuff, where it's like, oh, you got to play true authentically, and everyone always likes to talk about the authentic musical experience, but that doesn't exist.
I mean, there's a line, I think.
Yeah, dude, if you listen to bluegrass, that's pretty authentic. Like, that's pretty exposed music if you think about it. Like, it's just chamber music. Like,
it depends on what the music requires. Like, I don't care for falling in reverse, so I just kind of chuckle at it, right? But I also know that an artist who I really respect, like Devin Townsend, if the same thing happened to him, then he would also have to bail.
Do you think Devin Townsend is authentic?
No. I'm saying that, like,
no, I was joking. The correct answer was yeah, of course he is. He's just doing his thing. Like,
I mean, in the
as real as it gets.
Sorry. When you're saying authentic, I was still thinking in the context of like, Les Paul straight into a Marshall, like play it like a man. Like I meant like that kind of authentic.
Oh, right,
like
right. Yeah.
Sorry, I got mixed up. Yeah.
No, it's all good.
I just mean like that's an artist who I like, who I would think like, yeah, if that happened to him, I would totally get that. But I mean, if I heard like AC/DC say that would be like, whoa, what?
Yeah, depends who it's coming from too. But I think people just like to take cheap shots at, like, quite frankly, what's just relevant music.
Kids these days with their computers and that kind of
Yeah,
shit.
it kind of comes into that a little bit, where it's like kids don't know how to make music like they used to, and it gets into that.
There was a time when I would have said that.
Oh yeah, me too.
And I'm really glad I grew out of it, but
yeah. You know what popped my cherry about that stuff so many years ago was when I was a teenager, I was super into Fallujah. And like that band is like a laptop ass death metal band. Like I remember when I first saw them live, you could just literally see the Pro Tool session just open facing the crowd, because that's just like what it is, man. It's like that stuff triggers like everything. It triggers all the, especially if you're playing like stuff like Fallujah, they change guitar tones like, a dozen times, and like, man, doing the pedal board dance, that's why I switched to a digital rig, man. And Alec jokes about this because I use a digital rig plugged into a face of an amp, and he's like, you fucking kids. But you know what, man? I press a button and all my shit changes. It's awesome.
Oh, I totally get the appeal. And anytime I've tried stuff like that, I just kind of, that scene in Zoolander when, okay, you know exactly what I mean. The scene in Zoolander when Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson are just like beating the computer.
Right.
It kind of made me feel like that. Like, it's great if I can sit down with everything and fuck around with it, but when shit goes wrong in the middle of a jam or in the middle of a show or something like that, I just find that's way harder to deal with.
I have stories about my analog gear fucking up in the middle of a gig. I didn't know what to do. I remember one time I was playing a metal gig, dude, and what happened? It was like on my old rig, it was pretty straightforward. It was like actually, I don't want to get into it because I don't want to like bore our audience with guitar shit.
Into a gear podcast.
Yeah, that's not what this is. We're talking about the ethics of music.
All day, but
we're not doing that. Not here, at least.
I know.
But yeah, dude. I remember one of my knobs got turned because my patch cord just like knocked it, and I just didn't know what to do because, like, when you're looking down at your feet while you're trying to play riffs, you're like, fuck my life. Like, what is this like waking nightmare that I'm experiencing right now? And so, I mean, it can happen with analog gear. With digital gear, it's like you're straight fucked, though. Like you're right. Like, if someone were to throw a bottle of Heineken at my Pro Tools session, then like, dude, like you're done. Like, the set's over. Like, go home.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, worst case scenario, you can always just unplug from the pedal board, go straight in the amp. I mean, depending on your setup, like how much you rely on your pedals. And
you know what?
Do what we said we would do.
Yeah, but that's even more complicated too, because even for a band that's as simple as clean channel, dirty channel, you're still fucked, because you're not changing that tone. Like, if you're plugging, like, for example, if you're a System of a Down, like, they only have like maybe 4 different guitar tones, but I mean that's instrumental to what they play, right? Like, imagine playing Toxicity without the back and forth between the clean and the dirty. It would sound like shit. You would hate it.
At the same time, though, when you're that big, you've got a tech who is paid to deal with that shit. Yeah.
I think there's another thing too that I've thought about this for years, man. Like, just about the ethics of production and stuff like that. I hear a lot where people will say, "Oh, like the way you produce music is inauthentic," because, like, people talk a lot about this in the context of vocalists, right? Because I know you do like a bit of vocal mixing and stuff like that, and like, people think that every like quote unquote metal record they listen to is authentic, and it's fucking not, dude. Like, every so often, oh, dude, the amount of compression on those vocals, the amount of reverb. Like, do you really think like Chris Barnes sounds like that. No, he was cupping the microphone. Like they probably, I bet Scott Burns just turned the compression up, and it gets that like this kind of sound. You know what I mean? And then he's growling.
Well, I mean, my way of looking at it is that cupping the mic has always just been a cheaper way of trying to simulate like a preamp and a compressor, or like some saturation and compression. But I mean, if you're talking about metal, at least modern metal, you don't even have to look as far as like the reverb and compression on the vocals. Just look at the fucking drums. 90% of the time they're samples. Like, depends on the style of music, obviously. Like for some shit, it just works, right? But
yeah, I would wager a bet that 90% of like even records that are considered like good ass, like true ass fucking records, production, man, that's a thing. Like, dude, you gotta listen, like, especially if you listen to like, I know, Injustice for All, that's a really good drum sound, man. Like, that's a really good drum sound. Like, what's that?
Yeah, it's too bad there's no fucking bass.
Yeah, I know, but man, the drums sound really good, and you better believe that's not
drums do sound really good.
It's not an authentic representation of what music sounds like. You listen to Countdown for Extinction, like 1992, that album sounds like glass. It's fucking beautiful. Say what you will about Megadeth's 90s output, but man, their production was on fleek back then, dude. I think those 90s Megadeth records are like, like honestly, like the gold standard.
You know what? I know it's corny, but I kind of love Countdown to Extinction.
The whole album?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I think it's fucking awesome, dude.
Even like that's not even that fucking record. I mean the Hello Me, Meet the Real Me. I love that shit. It's hilarious.
You know, I skip over Sweating Bullets whenever I listen to the album, only because it's like a little overplayed. But I mean, yeah, Sweating Bullets is fucking brilliant. It's an amazing hook. Like,
oh yeah, that like I love the kind of swingy bit like in the chorus.
Yeah,
I know I realize it's the Black Album for Megadeth, but I still kind of fucking love it.
Oh yeah, the Black Album's a good album too, I would say. I don't know if I think it's a fair comparison between those two, not because I think they sound similar, but they're definitely like a similar mission statement, I think.
They're quote-unquote sellout records.
Mm-hmm. But it turns out Selling Out is can produce some really good shit, man. Some really good shit. I think, like, you know, like, are there any really truly good metal sellout records besides those two we listed? Because I think if we were like to name drop a couple, we could probably hit on some good hot takes here.
Yeah.
I got a hot take for you.
Let's hear it.
Someone once told me that The Bleeding by Cannibal Corpse was their sellout record. Yeah, isn't that fucking stupid? Like, can you believe someone said that to me? Well, their logic was basically that, like, well, the riffs are far simpler, it's far more mid-paced, and it's way more, like, hooky. But the hooks are, like, fucked with a knife. What's the other song? Like, some, Raped and Strangled?
Yeah, even Hammer Smash Face is catchy as fuck, I think. Like,
but it's way more gritty.
Absolutely. But
like that, Tomb of the Mutilated, Between the Bleeding, those two production styles to me are like night and day. Like, Tomb of the Mutilated is a good sounding album, though. It's not like a slouch like job or anything. Like, I think so. Me and Aaron talked about Chris Barnes era Cannibal Corpse, and like, it's just amazing like how fucking bad that like Butcher at Birth sounds so terrible. Like,
it sounds awful.
I used to love that album when I was a teenager, dude, and I went back to it for the podcast, and I was like, this is so boring. Like, Eat It Back to Life and Tomb of the Mutilated are just infinitely better.
Well, doesn't it just sound like it was recorded at a fucking trash can? Like, I haven't listened to it in a long time, but...
It kind of sounds like a buzzsaw, like a perpetual buzzsaw, because everything is really sharp and attacky.
Yeah. I mean, like, people didn't really know how to produce death metal then, right? Like, nobody knew what the fuck they were doing.
So people say they like that sound. I call bullshit on that, man. So when people start, like, now it's almost like cute to go back and reference that production style, but like it's It's weird. It's like this secondhand kind of thing, or it's like you have actual OG death metal productions. If you listen to like the first Demolic album, or I don't know, like fucking like a Death album, like a Scott Burns thing, right? That has a very specific sound. And then 30 years later, a bunch of dudes like our age were like, okay, like we're gonna redo that, but they're not using the same technology. Sure, they have like microphones in front of the amps, but I mean like. They're basically using studio wizardry to sound like dick on purpose.
I know.
But then it emulates that sound. Like Skeletal Remains a throwback band, but I mean, like, I think their production sounds good. Like, Turret Stab Wound sounds good. Like, you know, but
I think it's one of those things that just. I mean, even like guitar distortion. Technically, that started as like, oh, that sounds like shit. And then someone just said, oh, yeah, no, let's use that. And then it became, like, when was the last time you gave a shit about clean guitar?
Yeah. That's some Polyphia Zoomer stuff, man. Like,
but, I mean, just it became, like, a standard, like, something that sounded like shit. It's the same thing with the HM2. But at the same time, I think that, like, you can harness the good aspects and kind of learn from the mistakes. I feel like that's a better way to look at that sort of thing.
You know, I bet when they discovered that like chainsaw sound. So for those who don't know, the HM2 was the sound that's like very Swedish death metal of the 90s, very dismembered kind of sound and stuff like that. But I bet like when they discovered that tone, like when they were recording like At the Gates and stuff, the guy probably thought like, man, this is like fucking so heavy. Like he probably didn't think it sounded like shit. He probably thought like, dude, this is fucking brilliant. This sounds great. I love it. And
I just mean like in the context of the time, that's not something that traditionally an engineer would like seek. You know what I mean? It was just kind of it seems like it was discovered by accident, and then. But yeah, like I mean, now that's like a standard sound on a lot of newer metal records. Like I remember when HM2 core became a thing.
Yeah. I
love
that
fucking
shit.
Genre based around. Oh, it's great.
For those who don't know, it's basically a bunch of hardcore punk bands that just rip off that specific tone, and that's just the gimmick. It's really good. It works really well. Yeah, dude. I think that shit's really funny. But you know what's funny is like I think it goes back to the idea of authenticity, right? Like everyone says, you know, I want my bands to record their authentic self. I want to hear raw sound, but I promise you probably don't want that. You really don't. Like a really freaky example of being recorded live off the floor. I got an old one and a new, or somewhat contemporary example of like live off the floor and how rare it is. Yeah. Actually, I got 3 examples for you. Ever listen to Focus by Cynic?
No, I haven't listened to that one.
Okay, so check it out at some point.
I'm aware of Cynic. Like I know they're super technical and super
proggy, like really ahead of its time for like early 90s like death prog shit, but not the point. But anyways, they recorded that stuff to tape, like live off the floor, and it's fucking insane. It's like it's really, really stupid good. But even the drummer Sean Reinhardt's like, yeah, like there's ebb and flow in the time if you were to like map it out. Like it's not even like we like just played the tape and that's just what we got. But they were just such good players, they made it like happen. I promise
it's really
you.
Impressive. It's like I know how technical they are. I've heard their music and I know how challenging it is.
Yeah, but just imagine that. Just imagine that recorded to tape. But imagine like having that standard for everyone else, though. That's the thing, right? It's like no one plays as well as like Sean Reinhardt and Sean. I can't pronounce his last name, Misdevol or whatever. Another example is The Cleansing by Suicide Silence. That was recorded totally off the floor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the album sounds so good for what it is. Like, I'm not an OG deathcore guy. I'm more of a new school deathcore kind of guy. But, like, man, that album, I appreciate it infinitely more knowing that, like, they just did it live off the floor because it sounds really, 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 really tight. I think it's a great underdog story because everyone thought they sucked when they came out, like, on the local scene in their area.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I just remember when, like, everybody was freaking out about Suicide Silence.
Yeah, me too.
But
I
also live in rural Southern Ontario, so I'm not going to be getting, like, the hot news from fucking LA or whatever.
But, you know, I made it out there because a lot of a lot of rednecks like like Suicide Silence for some reason, but like you do. That's a heavy album too. Like I'm surprised that band got so fucking huge because man, that album is not pleasant, dude. It's fucking hard. It's like really, really heavy and aggressive and dark and like there's some cheesy moments because it's deathcore of that era. But I mean, like
it's also a bunch of teenagers, right?
Yeah.
They're all probably like slamming Jack Daniels and fucking riding dirt bikes like that afternoon,
Oh yeah, they were drinking Monster and smoking dabs before they recorded this thing. They're high as fuck. Those two guys, the two guitar players, they smoked so much weed back then. You can just tell when you look at like videos of them. There's cheeched. Like,
oh yeah.
But yeah, they record that live off the floor, and again, I promise you don't want everyone else to do that. I promise you. Like, dude, imagine if we recorded live off the floor.
I've been in bands where I would have been comfortable doing that, but only after years of playing together.
Yeah.
Like not even necessarily just great musicians, but just like your songs. You've played with you've been stuck in that sweaty room for like fucking 6 hours just jamming away on shit. Like that I think you could pull off. But it also depends. Again, that's another thing that depends on the style of music, right? Like you're saying about the computers and such with falling in reverse. Like there are some bands where that totally works for them, and some bands that just don't need it. I think it just depends on how complex your setup and like what style of music you're playing.
And even if you want to go through that much time, honestly. And here's the thing too: is people don't realize if you're not a musician how unreliable musicians are. You wouldn't want, dude, I promise the audience, if you're not a musician, you know how hard it is to get two adults to agree on a non-live off the floor recording session? Impossible. It's impossible, dude. You will quit and get a day job pretty quickly. So if you think for a second you can get them in the same room and then expect them to be prepared, you're fucking high. You just have no experience in the field.
Like, that scenario I was talking about, definitely the exception, not the rule. When it happens, it's fucking sweet, but it is the exception.
It's a marvelous machine where it's like, if you think about any of those albums I just name dropped, it's because everyone was just so on the ball with their own selves, and that's just so rare. Do you know how many schlubs are professional musicians? I don't mean schlubs as in they're bad, but I mean like people who just like, I don't know, half-assed their way into success. It happens all the time, man. Like, you know how many fucking terrible like actors there are that still get work, or like, like any field of work, How many schlubs have a podcast in their parents' basement? Like, holy crap, dude! Like, anyone can do it. Like, but
speaking of which, I think this is a great time to tell all of your listeners about HelloFresh.
Oh yeah, we're sponsored by HelloFresh. That's right.
Yeah. They can deliver MeUndies right to your door, already pre-soaked with last night's tacos.
Yeah. They also come with Harry's razors, packaged in there, but they're loose razors, so like don't cut yourself when you open the box.
But if you do, you won't be so bad because they're soaked in brain force.
Yeah, you don't want that, but your hands will smell like really good beard oil when you cut your hands on these Harry's razors. Use checkout code DDD 42069-911. That is DDD
at hotmail.com.
42069-911. Hotmail.com for a discount code of 0.1%. Fuck off. Please give us money. We do actually have a Patreon, which no one cares about.
No, I'm sorry.
I don't care. Hey, what do you expect?
I think one of the greatest live events I ever saw.
Yeah.
Just now you mentioned the Patreon was when my high school thrash band played at oh my god, the Catacombs.
Oh, in Montreal.
No, it wasn't. Fuck. No, it wasn't Hamilton.
Yeah, sorry. There's actually like a nightclub in Montreal called the Catacombs, and they do like a lot of punk and hardcore and like metal shows, and they're still around, so I wasn't sure. But,
I've heard it's a great venue. I might be having the wrong name, but it's underneath that fucking cowboy bar downtown. Hamilton.
Underground.
Yes, the Underground.
They no longer exist. They're done. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I know. I knew it was close, but yeah. Either way, my shitty high school thrash band, Weapons of Mass Destruction, played there. Pretty great name, eh?
I was gonna say that. That's actually like really good for a high school band name.
It was one of those names that was just. I mean, it was during the Second Iraq War. Like it was during the Bush or the Bush Junior years, right? So it was relevant. We weren't political at all, but yeah. Anyways, so we played at what'd you call it? The Underground.
Yeah.
Yeah, we played at the Underground, and there was this band that played with us called Plague of Hail, and they were scene kid, like swoopy haircut.
So probably
really
like kind of
cookie cutter metalcore.
Yeah, chuggy metalcore kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's lots of great stuff for that, but that's just the thing they had. And it was funny because they had a song where they went, okay, this is our two-step song if anyone wants a two-step, which is lame as fuck. And nobody two-steps. And then they were like, this is our throwdown song if anyone wants to throw down. And then nobody threw down. And then they maybe played one or two more songs, and then he said, we have a MySpace if anyone cares, and dropped the mic.
Dude, actually the worst part is that comedy comes in threes. So he could have just said that once more. Like, he could have made that joke the third time, would have been fucking hilarious. The room probably would have died. Like, if he had just said, this is the Circle Pit song, someone would have been like, bah! It would have fucking worked, I'm telling you, man. So I'm sorry if the guys from Plague Veil or whatever the fuck your name is listening.
I mean, I'm embarrassed about my band that played then. I only hope they would have the common sense to also be ashamed. Words.
How old were you? You say you're a high school band, so you're probably like 18, give or take.
It was towards the end of that band, so I think I was 19. I was also the old guy, so I bought smokes and beer for the other guys. I mean, no, I didn't, officer.
Well, I mean, I think there's probably a what's the word for it? Statute of limitations on buying minors alcohol and cigarettes. I think there's like a ban clause. I'm pretty sure if you look at like the law, it's like, well, like if you do it to your band members, it's less fucked up. It's more of like a stern talking to you, like we're gonna confiscate your shit and say, don't do it again.
I was 19 and they were 18, so it's like when people say to a minor, I'm just, fuck.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think what we did was pretty great.
Yeah, definitely upstanding citizen right here.
So, but the thing that you guys did though, and so did they, is that you guys played authentically. I'm assuming there was no laptops because this is like laptops back then. That was, I don't want to say it was a gimmick, but man, like most people couldn't afford that shit. Because dude, in-ear monitors, for those who don't know, very expensive. If you have a legitimate. So, like, when Rodne Radke is talking about his stolen laptops, dude, that's, like, the equivalent of if your band of, like, 2 guitars, a bass, Mesa half stacks, heads got stolen. That's that, dude, because that software ain't fucking cheap. That, like...
Oh, absolutely not.
That program to program your light show and to run all of your amplifiers and in-ear monitors, dude, that's, like, a lot of money.
I'd be less concerned about the software than like the hardware and all the presets.
I mean, the software, you have like codes and stuff, but unless you're like,
I'm sure you'd have a license to it and you could just put it on a new computer, but that's still a fuck ton of work.
Some companies are fucky with that though. You know how that goes.
Oh,
like
really?
Some companies will do that thing where it's like,
I guess so.
Yeah, it's only licensed to one computer at a time. So even if they were to redeem and reuse their code, it's not easy. It's not like you just buy your new laptop and you plug and play in your fucking disco baby. That's like a job.
Yeah, when I switched computers to my new laptop, I shouldn't say new. Either way, when I switched to my laptop, I had a lot of problems with the Waves plugins. It's like all of a sudden there's all these sweet plugins that I paid. Well, you know how Waves gets you. It's like have 30 plugins for $8 Black Friday, but then you switch to a new computer and you have to pay full price to renew all of them.
Yeah, that sucks. Hey, when they fucking do that shit, man. But it's a band that actually did do another album live off the floor? Suga.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But that was late era Meshuggah, so they were like pros.
I remember. Was that around the same time they switched back to using tube amps?
I don't know. Who cares? Probably. It sounded fucking same to me.
Suit, right? Like,
I hate it, dude. It did sound the same because, which says a lot about a lot of things. First of all, it says Meshuggah is so tight that they don't need to track things traditionally. They can just do live off the floor, whatever. Fuck it, it's fine.
Fucking impressive. Yeah.
It's beyond impressive. That's like, those guys should be diplomats for like some embassy in a third world war torn country.
They're obviously just the coolest headed fucking people.
Dude, I was gonna say they would have to be like so good to each other. Like legitimately, I'm more amazed at their personal relationship that they were able to say, "Hey guys, this is the project." Everyone's like, "Yeah, that's good, that's good," and then they show up and do it. Like, and then
my samples are on every record. Like...
yeah, we use tube amps this time. No nil DSP. It's like. So that's amazing, and then it sounds just like any of their other produced albums, which also says that, like, you know, for production stuff, it doesn't matter if you have a fucking tube amp. Like, dude, straight up, dude, nah, man. Like, you and I talk about this because our jam space is upstairs.
Yeah.
We don't like lugging gear, man. And straight up, if I was playing arenas and if I was playing that shit, dude, I'm not fucking carrying that shit. Fuck you. I'm bringing a MacBook Pro. I'm plugging in my Scarlett, and I'm gonna rock, and no one's gonna care.
But again, if you're playing stadiums, you've got fucking roadies.
Yeah, but dude, that's even better because now I can get my roadies to configure my Waves plugins. Don't get me wrong; it's really nice when a roadie was. If I ever had a roadie, like I've never had a roadie. Just I don't think anyone's wondering that, by the way. But I've never played a real gig where I had a roadie. So like,
I've had friends carry stuff in, so they got into the show for free.
That's cool. I support like that level of theft. So you know, it's like I would be so humbled if someone just to put my pedal board in front of me and it's like, yeah, I checked your cables, you're all good, your guitar's in tune, I set it up. I'd be like, oh man, like, let me buy you a drink or whatever. I'd be like so flattered. But then if some guy's like, yeah, man, I got your laptop ready, your in-ear monitors are good, levels are sick, I'd be like, oh my god, you're a fucking saint. Which reminds me, tell me about some terrible bands you've seen live. I want to get some hot takes on this episode while I got you here, because you and I have some funny conversations. Tell me some terrible shows you've seen.
This one hurt me. This one hurt me a lot because I actually love this band.
Yeah.
Jethro Tull.
They sucked live? Really?
They were awful. Or specifically Ian Anderson was awful.
Who's Ian Anderson? Because I'm actually not a Jethro Tull guy. I never liked that shit. I thought they were stupid medieval like cosplay music.
That's exactly why I love them, though.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. So who's Ian? What does he play in the band?
He's the singer. He's basically the singer and the flautist.
I was gonna say, is it flutist,
right.
flautist? Flightist.
Dude, you didn't know that? Jethro Tull is known for the fucking flute.
No, I knew about that part. I just mean like the word to describe a flute player.
That's why I laughed before I said it. But yeah, anyways, he's like he's the Dave Mustaine of Jethro Tull, right? Like he's the guy. All the other there's been musicians who were in the band for a long time, but for the most part it's just a rotating cast. So, of course, like this late in the career, it's just him and a bunch of fucking randos.
Yeah.
Like they had, I know a lot of bands, like a lot of newer bands don't do this anymore, but everyone else walked off the stage and the guitar player did a big fucking long solo. And it was just the most like Zakk Wylde with less soul. And if you know my opinion of Zakk Wylde, that's really funny.
I do, but no one else does, so you should say it.
Just the most rudimentary white guy blues fucking licks ever. Which,
yeah, dude.
nothing against white guy blues. A lot of my favorite bands fit that bill, but there's a point where it's just... Dude, just go back to playing sessions. Just nobody cares. But yeah, the thing that really killed me about that show was that I was hearing all these songs that I love, but he would start with the vocals on time, and then just the longer he sang, the more behind he got. And he would never, like if you're playing and you fuck up, if you know your shit, you're going to get back like on the right beat.
Yeah.
You're going to like stop playing and then start playing on the right beat. He just kept dragging. So like his vocals just get further and further and further behind the rest of the music. And by the end of the verse or the chorus, it's just a fucking mess. And I just felt sad. Like I wasn't even pissed off. I was just sad. And then he'd play these songs like, I don't know, if anyone listening here likes Jethro Tull, all 2.5 of you, when they played Heavy Horses, like half of the song, they'd had a big projector screen behind them, and like an actor would come out in period garb and sing like the verse while Ian Anderson just sort of danced around. I was just like, this is such a fucking cash grab. Like, you suck tonight. You have to know you suck. You used to be good. You must know you suck. Why do you suck?
Yeah, that's actually disappointing for a multitude of reasons. So again, like I'm not a Jethro Tull guy. However, I am a 70s rock guy. 70s prog rock musicians, very good players, like unanimously, right? Like dude, I don't even like fucking what's that fucking shitty band? Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I hate them. But man, those guys can play.
Yeah.
Those guys can fucking play, man. Like
for me, Emerson, Lake and Palmer is like too much Jethro Tull.
Yeah, it's Jethro. It's actually surprisingly more grating than Jethro Tull.
It's Jethro Tull squared. Because at least, like even with Jethro Tull, if you're not feeling the Ren Fair shit, at least they're like Aqualung has some fucking killer guitar riffs in it.
Yeah, sure.
Like
sure.
that album's got some fucking killer riffs in it. Like, yeah. But Emerson, Lake and Palmer just kind of goes that extra step too far, where even I'm like, okay, you know what?
You know what it sounds like? they were just trying to be the Doors on acid. And I hate the Doors. Dude, that's like my controversial, like, classic rock take. Fucking hate the Doors, man. I joke about hating the Beatles. I don't really hate the Beatles. That's like a joke. I just say, like, fuck the Beatles as almost like to take the piss. Like, obviously,
it's a funny, edgy comment. Yeah.
I like the pop era of the Beatles. That's my take. Whatever, not the point. Emerson, Lake and Palmer sounds like the Doors, and the Doors to me sounds like CIA fucking circus music. I hate it, dude. I remember I need to look this up. What is the name of the last album? It was like God.
By the Doors?
Yeah, it was like something about the circus or like
I don't even remember. To be honest, I don't know like albums of the Doors. I just know hey Piggy. I don't know albums of the Doors. I just know like the hits. I'm the same way with Bob Dylan. Like
I'm about to pull this up for you because this is gonna piss me off. Oh yeah, whatever. It wasn't about that. It was it's called the Soft. It's called the Soft Parade. I used to work at a record store, and some guy was just like, "Hey, you like the Doors?" I was like, "Honestly, man, like no, not really." And he was like, just like vinyl shopping or whatever, and he was like, I told him, like, like, at the time I was really into like jazz fusion and like rock fusion. So I was like really into like the Aristocrats and Greg Howe and like fucking Alan Holdsworth and all that nerd shit. And the guy was just like, "Oh, if you like jazz fusion, you might like really dig on Soft Parade. There's some like weird stuff on there that's kind of like, I don't know, reminiscent of that sound." So I was like, okay, whatever, sure. So I actually like, so I fucking, so I go home. Listen to Soft Parade. I was like, this sucks harder than the rest of the Doors discography, because apparently this album's like a black sheep of this discography. Like, apparently people, even Doors fans, are like, fuck this fucking album. This guy misled me. There was not a single lick of jazz fusion on here. It is just like, it literally sounds like fucking.
It's like when your friend says, "Oh, you like metal, eh? You ever heard of this? You ever heard of Stained?" Like, it's like that kind of thing.
I would say it's more so like, "Oh, dude, you like the heavy shit? You like that thrash stuff? You should check out Angel Witch." And you're like, "What the fuck's an Angel Witch?" And you go back and you're like, "It's not heavy at all."
they're so corny.
You know,
they've influenced so many of my favorite bands, but they're so corny.
That's another hot take I got for you, man. I'm not into old school heavy metal at all.
Yeah, you broke my heart a little when you said you didn't like Iron Maiden.
Yeah, I don't like Iron Maiden, guys. And I need to clarify because now it's uttered on the internet. I try not to talk about Iron Maiden on the internet for obvious reasons.
Oh, my bad.
No, it's all good. I should have said that before the podcast, but now that we're here, I have to recover. Is my due diligence as a guerrilla journalist. Let me tell you. The thing about Iron Maiden is obviously they're good. Like, I'm not like that much of an asshole or I'm going to tell you Iron Maiden sucks. That's not true. I can't back it up. I love Power Slave. I think it's a fucking awesome album. Number of the Beast is a great album.
Incredible. Yeah.
Peace of Mind, fucking great.
Also amazing. Yep.
Great. But here's the issue of Iron Maiden is that their batting average fucking sucks. Like, I don't like the first two
When you've been around that long, though, you're gonna put out some poop.
No. I got to get this off my chest. Since we're
all right. All right. Go ahead.
First two albums, Iron Maiden, and I don't know what's that something Murder at the City Morgue
Killers.
or no? What's it called?
Killers.
Oh yeah. Couldn't care less. I never liked those albums. I was like, damn, this sucks. So then, Number of the Beast, I listened to that and I was like, oh, this is fucking awesome. Then you get up to Fear of the Dark, and that's when it
great
just
song, not a great album.
Not a great album. And I always thought that was a hot take because when I was a teenager, I was like, oh, it's okay, whatever. And as an adult, I went back to it. I was like, oh, dude, this is boring as piss. I like even some of the weirder shit. I like
Seventh Son and shit like that.
I actually do like Seventh Son. I actually do like Somewhere in Time. I think Somewhere in Time, in spite of the kind of not great synth stuffs.
Yeah,
I still like those two records in spite of that. I've
grown to appreciate synth. I used to hate it, but I don't know if I just got older and I developed a.
I don't like the way they did it. To me, it's just bad production choice, just unnecessary layers of texture. I don't know.
It's super just like, let's try something new, whether it works or not. That kind of thing.
To me, it just sticks out too much. It should have just been way in the back. It should have been a gentle pad. I don't know. Not the point. So I still like those albums.
Everyone was excited about it.
Yeah. They were playing with their new toys. I get it. So that's fine. Then the 90s came around, and then Iron Maiden just took the biggest nosedive. Like, dude, that Zeppelin fucking crashed. That was like the Hindenburg of music, man. It's like Virtual XI.
Oh, you mean the Blaze Bailey shit?
Yeah, fuck that.
Oh, that was awful. It was awful.
Fuck that. Like X Factor and fucking Virtual XI. Like, fuck
I think
that.
I think even most diehard Iron Maiden fans will fucking agree with you.
No, there's apologists. I promise you, man. There are apologists. Sure they walk among us. They go to the post office. Like,
they look just like you and me, but let me tell you, they are destroying our country.
They are destroying our country and everyone else's country too. I'm sure there's some guy in Brazil who just loves that album. But like, anyway, so that sucks. And then they came back.
Jair Bolsonaro.
Yeah.
I'll shut up.
And so what? They come back with not Dance of Death, the other one that has like fucking
Brave New World.
Thank you. Brave New World's okay. It's whatever. I don't hate it. I don't love it. Some people really fucking love that album. I think they're being apologists.
I think it's got
moments.
Like, it's got like 2 or 3 bangers and then a lot of filler.
I will agree.
Iron Maiden filler, so I'll deal with it.
I'll agree that their bangers are always bangers. That's like fair enough. I always give them that. Even Dance of Death had songs I thought were pretty sick. Not even the point. Yep. But this issue is they keep on doing this for years and years and years, and no one just noticed that like Iron Maiden since the year 2000 has just been dropping the most lukewarm fucking like cottage cheese like fucking like heavy metal records. And then they had the audacity, Alec, and I hate the everlasting influence of these albums. They all of a sudden thought they were like a super serious like war metal band, and they started like, oh god, A Matter of Life and Death, when it's just like so serious, so melodramatic, singing about soldiers, and every song is 10 minutes long, and it's just so bad, and I just cannot
I saw
do
that
it.
Tour, and it was kind of disappointing.
And then the icing on the cake is they just kept on fucking doing it. And then they did like Book of Souls and did that other shitty album. And I was just like, and I felt like I was getting gaslit by the entire world. Everyone's like, no, man, the new Iron Maiden, it's fine. And like this like ship is already on fire, man. People are jumping out. Like women and children are fucking screaming. And everyone's like, no, it's all good. It's all good. They have 3 guitar players now. And I'm like, what's happening? And then they just kept on doing it. And then last year they released that one fucking album, like what was it, like Jitsu,
like Shogun or something like that.
Yeah, and I was just like, and I saw people being like, oh, it's okay, and I was like, no, fuck this band, I'm over it. I never want to think about Iron Maiden ever again. I never want to hear Iron Maiden ever again. The batting average is too bad. I cannot do this. We cannot have a discography of like 7 great albums and then 25 just fucking stinkers. We can't do this, guys. Like,
I mean, I'm just at a point where I expect that from a band that's been around that long. Like when I say I'm an Iron Maiden fan, I love Iron Maiden. I'm like, okay, first, I don't know, 5 or 6 records. Like I even love the shit with Paul Di'Anno, like the first 2 records. I love it because it's just like Iron Maiden but more punk.
Right.
But then, like, the albums after that, like, yeah, they've got their bangers here and there, but for the most part, it's just filler. And then I fully realized that the last couple albums have been meh, but that's because I don't listen to them. If I just don't listen to them, then they're still a great band. Like, I mean, the last time I saw them was the Legacy of the Beast tour. So it was just like, hey, we're going to come out, we're going to play our bangers. And I mean, I would almost compare it to like, I love Star Trek, but I know that Enterprise is a big stinking fucking turd.
But you know what it is, though? You love Star Trek Next Generation, you love Star Trek Original Series, you love Deep Space Nine. It's like an important distinction where it's like, if people ask, hey, do you like Iron Maiden? I say, I like parts of Iron Maiden. I don't like the entirety of Iron Maiden. Like I have and you know the worst part is, speaking of which, you got lucky you saw them on Legacy of the Beast, man. I fucked up 4 times in a row, and I saw them every fucking time they decided to play like their new album front to back. I saw them on that one tour where they opened up for Dream Theater twice, played all new songs. I saw them when Book of Souls was new. They played all that fucking shit. I hated it. I was so ripped off.
You know what?
And then they close with Aces High.
I understand that.
And I was like,
see, when I saw them in the Legacy of the Beast tour, they opened with Aces High. And I'm not ashamed to admit this, I cried. I was so happy I cried.
Aces High is so good. First of all, it's an amazing song.
Banger. It's so good. But and just for them to come out and open with it, I was just like, this is the best thing ever. Yeah, but that's because when I saw them on the, what was that World War II record, Matter of Life and Death or something like that.
Well, that's old hat. You saw them long before I did.
I saw them twice before that, but yeah, that one, that was fucking disappointing. But I saw them twice before that, and it was straight fucking amazing. But that's because they came out and they played the hits, because they're an old fucking band, and it's pretty rare for, like, who really gives a shit about AC/DC's new album? Like, same kind of thing, right?
Yes, okay,
like
that's...
Bon Scott era AC/DC, bucks.
It's good. It's so really great stuff, yeah.
And even Back in Black is, like, decent.
I love Back in... No, dude, Back in Black is God tier. I fucking adore that record.
That one's been overplayed for me.
That's fair, dude. That is totally fair.
That's the whole thing about, like, overexposure, right? That's a subjective thing, I guess.
Here's the problem with Iron Maiden, though. Like, here's the problem with other bands that you're right. The reason why no one gives a shit, and same thing, where did you know Deep Purple dropped a new album 2 years ago? Probably not.
I saw them on that tour.
Yeah, you probably did, but here's the thing.
Well, I saw them with Alice Cooper, but yeah. No, sorry, go on.
What I hate about this whole thing is that, like, they're doing the same fucking album time and time again. Literally, Iron Maiden is basically just a Brave New World, but the songs are twice as long. That is it.
Oh, yeah.
They literally, the part that I like about Iron Maiden is when they get to the fucking point and play the hook. And then new Iron Maiden's like, okay, we spent a lot of time giving people songs they like. Now what we're going to do is take this exact same formula but show you that it's actually not that good. And that's why I hate them. But here's the thing. There are other bands that have been doing essentially the same shtick, but it works for some reason. Like I'll be a weird one and say New Testament albums actually pretty good. New Exodus
Testament held the fuck up.
Yeah, New Testament I think might be some of their best stuff. Like they're pretty consistent.
What was that album? Demonic?
Which one? I haven't listened. I haven't caught up with them in a while. I was trying to check it out like when they come out and kind of forget about it, honestly. But
Demonic, I think, was from like the late '90s. So a thrash band putting out a good fucking album in the late '90s. Like
I think right all of Testament's output's actually great. I like their '90s shit, man.
That's what I mean. They were like out of the big five, we'll say. They're the ones that kept putting out great fucking shit. Like the album Demonic is just a bunch of old thrash dudes playing death metal, and it fucking rules.
Same with Low. Like, Low was a good album too, and it's like
Low's fucking incredible.
I like that shit a lot. Yeah, but even like
I remember. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say like Exodus puts out good albums. Like I'm not
jazzed
about Exodus. I don't think they're greatest band ever, but like man, they change it up and they keep it fresh. Iron Maiden doesn't do that.
Yeah. No. But I think what sets Testament and Exodus apart is that they had to struggle for a lot longer than the other thrash bands did.
They did commercially, not artistically.
That's what I mean. Yeah. I think that they didn't reach that comfort point. Maybe they just felt like they had to work harder at it, or I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of going too hard into the sellout mentality.
Maybe, but here's the thing, specifically about Testament is Alex, I can't pronounce the name, Shlonick or whatever, Shlonick, whatever.
Cool.
He has a jazz career, so he gets his weird shit out away from Testament.
Yeah.
He's like a guy. He's a guy who's been in like this. He's been in a marriage for 40 years, but instead of yelling at his wife, he goes to therapy. And that's basically how Testament operates, and that's why they don't suck. Because Alex Skolnick realized that, I can just do other things and not fuck up my legacy. And now he has two separate legacies. What?
Legacy was like pre-Testament.
Oh, yeah, that's Old Testament. Oh, no, sorry. I mean like legacy as in...
I know what you mean. Yeah. I thought,
I forgot about that album. Me. That's a deep cut.
Womp.
Yeah. And even like, I don't know, like Dillinger Escape Plan, like 30 years old, and I think their last album, Disassociation's pretty sweet.
Oh yeah, fucking Dillinger stayed consistent the whole way through.
Yeah, Converge. I don't like Converge, but man, those guys still shred. So being old's not even an excuse. You can just put out good shit and just not be an idiot.
I mean, just some people age better than others. I mean, like when I saw Deep Purple a few years ago, they played with Alice Cooper and Edgar Winter.
How was that?
Edgar Winter was amazing.
I would imagine, yeah.
Like his band was top notch. My only complaint was the mix. But that's no fault of the band. They fucking killed it. Like they were amazing. And then Alice Cooper was incredible. Like Nita Strauss hadn't quit yet. She was fucking ripping it. Alice Cooper, I think, is one of the like classic guys that got it right. Like he sobered up and he got his shit together. And yeah, his music wasn't as good as it was with his original band, but at least he's like still going out there and giving her. And like those two bands, seeing what Deep Purple was then after them was just sad. It wasn't as sad as Jethro Tull, but like the band was on point. But they started with Highway Star. And I love that fucking song. Like who doesn't love that fucking song? But the singer comes out and he does that big fucking high-pitched scream. And I'm just like, man, why didn't you warm up? Like, what? Why didn't you save this for the last song after you've loosened your fucking vocal cords up a bit? It was just like, I don't want to do it over the microphone. I don't want to do that to your audience.
They should have ran that through the PA.
Yeah,
They should have got a sample of that scream.
They should have had their laptop.
They should have had a laptop.
Their laptops were stolen. That was the fucking problem, Marcus.
Yeah, he should have done it off stage. Like, dude, if I was the producer of this show, it's not a Broadway show, but you know what I mean. I would have had like a curtain, like a white curtain, so you see the silhouette of. Is it Ian Gillan? Is he still alive?
Yes, that's
so it would have been Ian Gillan behind this white curtain doing like one of these, and you would have heard the scream. Curtain drops, and he's like, "Nobody's gonna get my car," and it would have been great, and no one would have cared. Nobody would have cared.
I definitely would have preferred that.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the band that I thought sucked so hard.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Because we went on a huge tirade about heavy metal. So here's the band that I thought sucked so bad when I saw them live was Massacre, if you know them.
I don't actually. I know I've heard the name. I know I've seen the patches. I know I've seen the T-shirts.
You sure have. They're one of like the OG Florida bands. They're like Florida death metal bands in the '90s. They have the one. I even forget the name of the album because I was just so pissed. I saw them. It was like the Death to Wall tour, and they were the opening act. And dude, it was so fucking pathetic. I was like, wow. Turns out Massacre sucks. And I was like so turned off the entire time. I saw Mastodon on a bad night. And what I've noticed, a lot of people have a lot of bad Mastodon live experiences. I saw them twice, actually. I saw them 2 weeks ago, opening up for Ghost. And I actually thought it was pretty good. I thought it was like... I thought they played really well that night, but I saw them with Gojira opening up. And it just... You can't do that.
Where was that?
Oh, it was formerly, yeah, now the Rebel, but yeah, the Sound Academy at that time.
Yeah, I was at that show.
Yeah, what a terrible idea. You can't follow up 2011 era Gojira with Mastodon. It's just not the same, man. It's like
I'm a big Mastodon fan. Yeah, even I found Gojira blew him off the stage.
It'd be like if you had Falling in Reverse headline and Dillinger Escape Plan was co-headlining. You'd be like, tough break, man. It's not gonna it's not gonna be a smooth transition. That's kind of how I felt about that. The genres were just like, I thought the genres honestly were just like way too like out there. Like I like varied bills quite a bit. Like for example, I was really bummed out that I missed Cypress Hill open up for Slipknot. I thought that was fucking awesome idea.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, dude.
I like Slipknot. I think that would have been cool.
Yeah, I liked them both enough where like that would have been so fun. I like stuff like that. And yesterday,
I'm a way bigger Cypress fan than I am a Slipknot fan. But yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. But I was gonna say, yesterday as of this recording, I should add, but I'm not sure when it's gonna get posted. But fucking
October 5th.
No, wrong. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so Wednesday, October 5th, Turnstile played, and the opening bands were JPEG Mafia and Snail Mail. I really regret not going to that one. I love that. I
feel so fucking old right now. I feel so fucking right now.
Let me.
I know of Turnstile. I don't know the other ones, but they sound like SoundCloud rappers.
Close. JPEG Mafia is fringe hip hop. Like,
okay.
If you play JPEG Mafia at a party, this is also an on-running bit on the show. Is that I always say, don't play this at a party. Do not play JPEG Mafia at a party unless your friends are backpacker hip hop fans. No one's gonna like you. Dude, it's like it's not for the faint of heart. He has this one song called I'm horny, I just killed a cop, and it uses a sample from this one famous police training video where a guy shoots a cop and it's just the guy like on the ground like screaming and dying. He uses that for a sample, and then he raps over. The album is called Black Ben Carson. Like, JPEG Mafia is pretty edgy. Like, not for everybody. And then Snail Mail is like really like pretty indie pop, like folky indie pop stuff. She's a really good singer.
Okay.
So I would have loved that. That would have been my fucking shit. But tickets sold out in like a singular minute, so I just slept on it because I saw Turnstile earlier in the year. So I was like, whatever.
Like, are they all? I know Turnstile is huge, but like, are they all big enough in their respective genres that it would just ended up being like sold out tickets no matter what?
Probably. Like, JPEG Mafia plays pretty big shows. He actually played the Danforth 2 or 3 months ago, and that was, I'm pretty sure, a sold out show. Snail Mail got big. I actually almost saw them play at the Casbah in like 2018.
Oh damn!
So they blew up in a couple years since then. And so for those who don't know, the Casbah is a really small venue in the town that I live in. Yeah,
I saw
dude.
High on Fire there, and it was fucking sick.
That would have been sick, dude. Is High on Fire good live?
So good live.
That's cool.
And that was, I don't know if I'd call it an off night for them, but that was right before Matt Pike went into rehab.
I actually don't know the history of this band. Do you want to tell me in the audience, like, what's up with that?
Okay, so basically, if anyone's familiar with stoner metal, you obviously know Sleep. Sleep is an awesome band, famous for having a record that's just one, like, it's at least an hour-long song, and that's just the record. And that's what got them kicked off their record label, of course, which is fucking rad, obviously. But,
cool.
Then he started, like, a faster band called High on Fire that's basically, like, it's like if you took the heaviest Black Sabbath song and the fastest Motorhead song and then just fucking smash them together. It rules. It's loud, it's dumb, it's about like wizards and dragons and fucking demon horsemen. You're basically just listening to a Frank Frazetta painting. Google Frank Frazetta, you'll probably hate it. Anyways, so yeah, he was like super into cocaine, super into hard drugs and shit. Just like, I think he was really into like uppers basically, but also really into smoking weed because he was in Sleep. And they put out, the name of the album is like De Mysteries, something like that. It's some weird like Latin shit. But they put out this great fucking record, and then they went on tour. And I can't remember if it was at the end of the tour or in the middle of the tour. He just drops out and goes to fucking rehab. Cleans up. He's not drinking anymore. He's not doing blow anymore. I think he just smokes tons of weed. But I saw the show that I saw them at was like the 1 or 2 days before reading that he had to go to rehab. And it was at the Casbah, super small venue. It was with Skeleton Witch and Priestess. So
that would have been
incredible.
So sick.
Oh, dude, it was amazing. But
what
then,
year
like,
do you think that was?
I was just out of high school, so I think it was like 2007, either 2007, 2008.
Yeah, dude, I have a long history with Skeleton Witch. Oddly enough, I saw them play. Good. Yeah, dude, Skeleton Witch is rad. I saw them play many times around the year 2009ish, 8ish, 9ish when I first started going to bigger metal shows. I think the first time I saw Skeleton Witch, I'm pretty sure they opened up for Bodum and Black Dahlia Murder, but that was like the good eras. Yeah, dude, Bodum is a band I have a complicated relationship with because their discography.
For good reason.
Yeah, their discography is pretty whack, honestly.
Yeah.
I like half of what they put out, and the other half I'm like, all right, fuck this. I'm out.
I guess I didn't dig that deep into them. I've got like that one album that I listened. Well, for a while I was listening to it a lot. Hatebreeder.
Yeah.
Which is like I think one of their classics.
Yeah.
But then I think what's the one after that? Like Follow the Reaper or something like that. I kind of dipped into that album. And then the more I heard them, the more I was just kind of like, you know what? I'll see them live, but it seems like I only really need to listen to these two albums.
Yeah, the first...
It's just kind of like, okay, it's more Castlevania music played on electric guitars.
That's actually something I was like thinking about, man, because the other day, because it's Halloween season, I was like, I'm going to learn some spooky guitar solos just because I was bored. I had nothing else to work on. And like, I started learning or relearning the guitar solo from Silent Night, Bodum Night, and I was like, this is literally just power metal. It is just power metal. I was like thinking about that, where it's like, man, like melodic death metal is a weird genre, because like I know we call them melodic death metal. I don't really know how apt of a description that is. Like, it is, I guess, but I mean, I don't know. It's more in common with black metal sometimes. I think those first couple albums,
Scandinavia, right? So it's got to be flavored by it.
Well, you know what it is? It's like those first couple albums are essentially power metal, and then Follow the Reaper onwards, they're a melodic death metal band. So fair, I guess. But you know, here's when Bodom started to suck for me. You know how like the first several albums are just like hard colors? Like Something Wild is dark red, Hatebreeder is like fluorescent, gross slime green, Follow the Reaper is blue. Yeah. Then you get to Blood Drunk, and it's good. After that, they stopped doing colors, and I was just like, okay. And then like some weird core identity of the band just kind of slipped. I think they fell into like Iron Maiden syndrome. They just kept on redoing the same material again and again.
That's kind of what I was getting at with them. It seems like you only really need like maybe 3 or 4 albums.
Yeah.
After that, it's just sort of like, it's more of the same, but not as good.
Yeah, the only saving grace was like they were just so fucking popular, and you know they played really well consistently. Like I've never seen a bad Bodom show. I definitely watched them.
They have a lot of attractive fans.
Yeah, Bodom definitely gets women at their shows. That's for sure. And like, they're pretty accessible. Like, you know, they're really melodic.
I kept that asexual. You're the one who brought that into. Yeah.
Like, I'm just saying, man.
Canceled.
There are no Volvadonia fans, but hey, you can't win them all, I guess.
Kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I don't know if this is a podcast appropriate topic. In fact, I might wager to say it's not.
Oh, it's definitely
I'm actually not going to say it. I'm not going to go there. Never mind. No, I am going to go there. So what I was like wondering about is like, you know, it's a trend. Maybe this is just the bands that I follow. This might speak volumes about my taste.
Okay.
A lot of bands are putting out like women's booty shorts and like thongs and stuff like that. I'm like,
yeah, they've been doing that for. I mean, I think I remember seeing that back in like 07, 08, maybe.
That's been a thing for a while for sure.
Yeah.
Some bands do it way more than others. Here's the thing. Here's what I've noticed.
Oh, yeah.
Slam and deathcore does that a lot.
Oh yeah.
Not so much other genre. Sorry?
Well, those were the shows I was playing a lot when I first saw them. Like either playing or attending.
Right.
Even though they're not really like super my kind of music, like the bands I played in were all like for a while super deathcore-y. So yeah, I was seeing lots of that shit at like deathcore and slam shows. So
other genres, let's be honest, especially slam, pretty alienating towards women for a plethora of reasons that we don't need to go into because me and Aaron have discussed. And if you're an astute observer, you'll probably know why. Slam especially.
I figured it's that by now, yeah.
Slam especially like has that whole like woman killing motif on so many of their records, and I'm just like, dude, I'm not down. I am not a slam guy.
That's a lot of what turns me off about it.
Yeah, like, and I mean, I'm willing to also say, however, that like bands like Distant and like Volvadonia, they don't really have songs that are like vaginal excretion, murder rampage, like, you know what I mean? Like they're not like super hypersexual 24/7 all the time, and they sell that kind of like merch and like it's whatever. But I just think that is so bizarre. And like, you know, bands like Black Label Society can get away with that. They can get away with selling like bikinis and shit like that because like it's a biker thing, and that's we don't have to go there about biker culture and how they treat women. That's whatever, man. Like,
I think they're one of those bands that's just big enough that like even if the artist has no knowledge of it, there's all sorts of shit just with their name slapped on it. Like Kiss. Those guys probably aren't even aware of 75% of the fucking merch out there.
No, I think those guys are. I think if you're Volvadonia, you're not too big to be bigger than Jesus. Like, don't get me wrong, dude. They're a big band, especially within our like world of extreme metal. They're pretty big.
I don't mean I don't mean them. I mean, like, when you mentioned Black Label Society.
Oh, yes.
Like, I think they're less of a, like... that's less of a genre thing and more of just, like, oh, they're big enough to just slap their name on anything and you'll fucking sell it.
But to be fair, Zakk Wylde is probably the kind of guy who would be like, "Oh, you sell a Black Label thong? Hell yeah, brother." He probably would have signed off on it anyways. Yeah. But I think what's really interesting is that, like, deathcore and slam have, okay, to be fair, it's not true slam, and that's the huge distinction. Because I know someone's gonna get on my throat about this because I know how slam fans are. Do you know what I'm talking about though? Where it's like,
I do, but it's so funny to hear you say it.
It's not true slam. It's like
I could feel the pain in your voice as those words left your mouth.
Because it's not fun to talk about. It's like, but we all know what I'm talking about. Where it's like, because like deathcore and slam have this weird like relationship where they rip each other off, but they pretend like deathcore guys like slam and vice versa, but slam guys don't like deathcore. So then you have this weird hybrid slam deathcore genre where I guess like, you know, there's more of a female audience, right? But then you have actual slam, which is like the gorectomies and the disgorge and stuff, and no fucking women like that shit. And I know there's going to be the one guy who's going to be like, no, man, I know a girl who loves that shit. Look, I bet you do. I bet she exists. I don't doubt this.
But just uncommon enough that it's an outlier. Like,
it's an outlier. It's an outlier,
yeah.
Man. But I find that like so interesting because like I'll be like scrolling through Instagram and see like I get like a post from a band where it's like they're like modeling like the bikinis and like,
yeah,
you know, like it's always. I think it might be the same pool of models. It's always like, you know, the girl with like a shitload of tattoos, and it's like, you know, like colored hair and stuff. And she's wearing like the tank top, and I'm like, amazing marketing. Like, let's be real, it's fucking brilliant.
So, obviously, like you're also super into like metal and death metal and all that shit. Was there a point a few years ago where your like social media algorithm was pushing this like really ugly like alternative tattoo lifestyle clothing from, I think it was from Montreal or something, but every fucking ad was just a video of some, I remember the one guy looked like a tatted up Jon Snow, and there'd be like a girl doing the like the sexy lip bite or something while playing with like a fucking road flare and just looking super grim and pouty at the fucking camera.
I actually never seen that, but I'm surprised.
I could tell by your facial expression, but I had to keep going.
No, you had. I just wanted to see how far this would go, but like, no, I actually never saw that ad, but I'm also surprised I didn't. But you know what, dude? That there's actually
now I almost
like
wish I remember what the brand was. Like, fuck.
I can also justify that though. To be fair, I used to follow a lot more tech death and a lot more like progressive death metal, and that style of marketing just doesn't fucking fly, man. Like, you are not gonna get like a death metal band or a true death metal band that's gonna have like, you know, ads like that and stuff like that, because you know, like, that's
absolutely
the thing.
Not.
The whole alternative lifestyle thing has way more in common with like, I don't know, like punk and hardcore like subcultures. Like, being a tattooed hot dude is not like a core tenet of like being a metalhead, right?
Admittedly, I have totally walked into shows, saw a band start playing, and just thought like, before they actually start playing, or when they're doing their intro thing, I've totally just looked at them and thought, oh man, these guys are way too fucking good looking to play good shit. I don't know if it's just confirmation bias, but most of the time I'm right. Sometimes I'm wrong. I'm very happy when I'm wrong. But
there has to be a horseshoe theory about this, though, where it's like, on one point you have... We're getting some mean topics here. Okay, we're at the one part where you have the really gritty,
Look out, snowflakes.
I know, this is not for the faint of heart anymore. So on one end of the spectrum, on one end of the horseshoe, you have not so pretty people playing not so pretty music. So whether or not to be like death metal, like hardcore, whatever the fuck you got.
I'm just picturing Shane Embry from Napalm Death.
Yeah. He's not a handsome guy. Like, you know,
mind you, saying that, he's seems like a wonderful human being, and if
I'm sure.
I had the chance, I would give him a hug.
I don't doubt it. So anyways, the horseshoe keeps on going, right? It bends out. You get some outliers in some other genres. You got some like really ugly blues guitar players. Yeah. But you know, it keeps on going. Somehow you wrap all the way around back to the other end of the horseshoe, and then you have really gorgeous people who play like death metal or like deathcore and stuff like that.
Dillinger Skate Plan. They were some very pretty men.
Oh yeah, they were all like Greg is the singer, Greg Pachuto. He's pretty much a model by all conventional standards.
I remember the first time I saw them play. I hadn't seen him, but I had listened to them, and I just looked up. I was just like, "Who's this fucking Jersey Shore guy?"
Right.
But then he rips, so it's fine. Like, it doesn't matter because he's fucking rad. Like,
then you got Ben Wyman, who's very much like your 30-year-old hardcore dude, and you know he's definitely he's a handsome looking fella. He's definitely you know what I mean.
So you got 30-year-old, lifelong straight edge, vegan.
Yeah, he wears V-necks. He's got the tattoo sleeves. He wears the funny 30-year-old kind of dude caps and stuff like that. Like, but then like
fucking rips, and he would destroy any of us. Like,
yeah, oh dude, he shreds. He's way too good.
Yeah.
Even in Calculating Infinity, he ripped back then, and that's an old record. But then you got
their most tech shit, but yeah.
But then you also have like a band like Entheos, who plays like I guess you would call him like proggy tech death kind of stuff. The singer, she's gorgeous. The guitar player guy's really handsome. They're a very good looking bunch.
I guess I should say with this particular, like the band that I'm thinking of, I won't say their name because I'm still kind of friends with one member. But yeah, they had like the feathered hair, white V-necks. I kind of think they were Christcore. Yeah, it was. I don't know. Maybe it was just the fact they were wearing white shirts. Maybe that's it. Maybe it was just like, what's this lawful good shit?
I love how like that was our
that was a D&D reference.
I love our criteria back then was just like, oh man, look at these posers. They're wearing like designer jeans and like Vans and like t-shirts. Like,
although honestly, like they're just one of those bands that sounded exactly how they looked too.
Oh yeah. No, there was an image back then, man. That's
actually
I think about that a lot because that's when I started going to shows because I was very young during the MySpace scene explosion and like yeah, dude. First of all, it's such a different world now because first of all those shows were all ages because they had to be because let's be honest. And I think about that a lot, man, where it's like I grew up with this stuff, so I think about some of the all ages shows I went to. I remember I saw Blind Witness.
Oh shit.
Tony Danza, Tap Dance Extravaganza.
Oh, they're so good.
And some other like straight up shreddy ass, like I'm pretty sure still kind of like low key relevant like metalcore band, and I was just like, it was an all ages show. But now, if that show were to happen in the year 2022, it would be like, you know, drinking age restrictions kind of thing and stuff like that. But back then, you know, we all looked like little wieners because we were all like trying to look cool. Like, man, fashion back then was a disaster. 2010 was a bad transition period. I had stupid hair. I wore ill-fitting clothes, as did we all.
Of course.
My girlfriend showed me pictures of her scene days, and I was like, oh, God, I can't believe you thought that was cool.
Oh, my God. It's my sister actually did, like, a thesis on the MySpace explosion. And,
That's
like,
cool.
Which, I laughed my ass off at first, but then the deeper she dug into it, the more I'm just like, this is fascinating.
It is, yeah. I have a lot to say about it too, from a marketing perspective, and like,
well, because it kind of took that kind of like exploded into a lot of like small town shows that you wouldn't have otherwise had, and it was like a whole thing that only really happened because of the internet.
Yeah, it was the first time bands went viral, or maybe not the first time, but like
That's how Top for a Cowboy got huge.
Yeah, it was the precursor for going viral at the time, and also just like talk about genre growing pains, man. Like,
oh fuck yeah.
Do you know what I mean, man? Like, genres were basically invented on this weird circle of the internet. Like, you don't see crunkcore anymore, but like, hey man, someone fucking thought of it. Someone thought of like adding post-hardcore screams on top of like, I don't know what you'd call that style of shitty rap music, but like someone did it. I like rap a lot, but I hate crunkcore.
I fucking love hip hop, but yeah, crunkcore is a whole other thing.
It's not good. Not good, my friend. Not good.
It's good for a larf from time to time.
Yeah. So all that happened, but then also like metalcore went through and deathcore went through a weird thing, and same with hardcore too, where it's like there was this like whole LOLXD random kind of like vibe where it's like you'll have songs about heartbreaks, but then it would be like the song title would be I tripped on my panda at the McDonald's on Santa Cruz Street or something like really fucking like random like that.
Yeah.
That one Abandon All Ship song was called Pedestrians, another word for speed bumps. But you know what it was, man, that I thought was really fascinating? Like that stuff, going back to the whole like women liking heavier music.
Oh, it was the most misogynist shit ever.
It was. But there was a huge women audience for so much of this stuff, like, and I think today there's some of that for sure. But I mean, like, man, I remember when I was in high school, I would like see women wear like, or I guess girls, because that's we were children. But I mean, you know, I'd see people wear like Suicide Silence T-shirts, and I'm like, that's like so wild to me that like teenage girls were like repping like legitimate heavy deathcore.
Yeah,
shirts and really stuff like that. It's weird, right? Yeah. Like, I don't know, like that's rare. It doesn't really happen. Like, dude, it'll be a cold day in hell if that happens. And like, imagine like in the year 2030, teenage girls were wearing like imagine if old school death metal had like this weird like teenage revival. Then you see like 14-year-old girls wearing like, I don't know, like Disgorge t-shirts. You would fucking lose your shit because you'd be like, that's so weird. Like,
thing is, I have got to a point where I did notice. Like, yeah, I guess I had the same thing when I noticed it got a lot more popular, like among, like teenage girls or. My God, I'm feeling my age right now. Fuck.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
34 years old, and I don't even like saying like. I feel creepy even just saying the two words "young girls."
Yeah.
Like I feel like I have to say it in a creepy fucking accent, like, "Oh yes, father, all the young girls are out." Like.
It's bad.
Yeah.
It's not good.
But I mean, at the same, I guess what I was trying to get at was that I know so little about what's fucking cool now. If that could happen, I'd just be like, oh, well, shit. I guess I have been living under a rock, you know?
I try to keep on the up and up. I try to keep an ear to the underground the best I can, because the underground always is where it starts, man. It's always where it starts. And you'll tell if you just hang around in circles that are like, I don't know, I guess, like, how do I describe it? Like, you and I hang out on some of, like, this similar Facebook groups and stuff like that, and I'm not going to say what those are because, like, I don't want to, you know, give away too much about where we hang out on the internet, but, like...
Gotta gatekeep.
You gotta gatekeep a little bit. But yeah, we follow groups where it's like, I feel like these are not conversations that old people are having. Like, I know I'm in some groups that like talk about like social justice in relation to media stuff, and that's not a place where old people hang out, man. That's like I feel like I'm in the older demographic of that. But like, you know, you got some of the younger posters in there, and they say some, I think, pretty interesting, insightful stuff. And like, if you look at the music that just trends on Spotify and what comes up, like, even if you listen to like hyper pop, like tangentially and just like from afar, that's what the kids are into, right? Like, or if you like, even when I go to deathcore shows, I see like young people, like, you know, all these shows are drinking age restricted, but I remember when I went to the Lorna Shore Suicide Silence show, there were people who were like just legal, like just legal drinking age in the States. And I guess
I think, oh my God, I hate to even be the guy to bring that up, but I think the pandemic is what really did it for me.
What do you mean?
Because all of a sudden I'm not going out to shows like a couple times a month. I'm not going out nearly as much as I was before, because there's a lot of people close to me who are immunocompromised. So
right.
I had a bit more of a restriction on me than others, and my kind of I did have sort of a musical discovery point during that period, and even leading up to now. But it's all it's all like dead people, basically. It's all like
yeah.
I got super into. I guess Stevie Wonder isn't dead. Bad first one on the list, but I got really into like 60s Stevie Wonder for a while. I got really into like Sly and the Family Stone for a while.
Yeah, the good R&B and funk stuff. Yeah, I love that shit,
like
man.
Barry White, fucking Marvin Gaye.
Yeah, man.
But then on the other hand, I got really into like Johnny Paycheck and Waylon Jennings and
the good country,
Willie Nelson stuff here and there. Yeah, like some classic outlaw country. So, yeah, maybe it's just the isolation just kind of made me like go back in time, and I sometimes I just like doing that thing of going like, well, the guys who really influenced me, who influenced them?
Oh, you went down the rabbit hole, like that kind of rabbit hole.
I like doing that sort of stuff, and the fact like the isolation really lent itself to that, I think. Especially with just like a lot, through most of the pandemic, it was like I can't go out and do anything fun, but I still got to fucking work.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was just kind of an escape for me. I don't know. It was almost like that's my chance to ignore all the depressing shit in the news and just kind of like go back to discover some cool old shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that's strictly due to the pandemic or what, but that's kind of like, my musical shit has kind of gone backwards over the past few years. I feel really out of touch as a result of that.
That you hit at the age of 32, 33, and that's when your music taste regresses. And I don't know. I'm not there yet, so I don't know. I'm still in my 20s, but like, I think about that a lot because the reason why I wonder if I'm going to be one of those people, because like I follow Finn McKenty, for example, the punk rock MBA, and he's pushing 50, and he's really on the up and up of underground stuff. And I don't know, like,
he's still. I mean, there's always exceptions, right?
Yes, like I wonder if I'm one of those people because I really, 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 really like new shit. So I wonder if that's just like a part of who I am. That's like just my MO, or like how that's going to play out in the long run. But like, yeah, try to keep my ear to the ground by just seeing like what's trending, and because the taste makers are teenage women. Honestly.
Oh, of course. Yeah, 100%.
Huge always part of it. And that's a thing, yeah. Like, so yeah, like, it kind of goes back to our deathcore conversation. Like, like young women sometimes still like that stuff. And like, slam thoughts, like some of those girls are pretty young. It's like, but it gives you a window of what's popular, like, and.
I mean, I started seeing like way more young girls at shows for, like mostly the deathcore. Like more kind of the deathcore scene than like the quote unquote true death metal shit. But then I guess most of the local shows I used to go to when I was young were also punk shows.
Punk shows have always been a safe haven for young people, I find.
You're still going to have a lot of creepy dudes.
Oh yeah, dude, that's a huge problem. I don't know how you're ever going to address that except for just calling it when you see it, I guess. Like, and I think now that stuff doesn't fly nearly as much as it used to. Like, people get called out, man. People will definitely get beat up for that kind of behavior, and like, yeah, man, like rightfully so. Yeah, it's just, I think the tide's turning.
I beat up a Lamb Gom show for that. Like,
but you know what, man? I don't know if that shit. Where that shit still does fly, because you can't catch it all, but I've noticed like punk shows, that's the first place that's not going to happen. Like, I've been going to DIY spaces for shows since like my town closed a couple venues.
Yeah.
So I've been going to Kill Room and stuff like that, and like, yeah, dude, that's a young person place. Like, all the dudes who are skating there and all the young guys and gals, like they're got to be like 18, 19 or something, man.
Oh, like, I feel so fucking old when
you go to the Kill Room, yeah, dude. It's like, dude, that's a young crowd who goes there, and I'm actually like really surprised to see that. I'm like, I mean, it's cool though, because it just again lets you know that like, hey, man, like that's what the youth are into. It isn't makes me feel like that my taste isn't like super out of touch. Because man, I went to do photos at 200 Stab Wounds a couple weeks ago, or not a couple weeks. It was like a month ago at this point, and the crowd was just so much older. It was just like a stark contrast. Oh yeah, dude. I mean, to be fair, like there were people in their 20s for sure, but I mean, there was a lot of older guys. I mean, you know what it is? It's like, you know, the difference between like when you go to a hardcore show versus a death metal show, especially like a death metal band that's kind of a throwback band. It's different, right? Like, you know, when you go to a hardcore show, there's a lot of young people who are throwing down and like really getting into it, jumping around and like being idiots. And then at death metal show, some of these dudes have full-time jobs and back pain, and they don't want to they don't want to go hard anymore. It just is what it is. And it's like, no hate on that if you're old and have back pains. Like, it's real life.
I also think hardcore has always been more of a, how do I put this, active local scene. I mean, like, physically active. Like, it's always been about movement. It's always been about moshing and slamming and shit, whereas death metal is like, yeah, moshing's a big part of it, but I find you're going to get a lot more arm crossers at like any death metal show, no matter what the age is or what the period was, I think.
I think at one point death metal was a mosh genre when it was new and there was young blood. I don't know about that anymore. Because, dude, like, when I'll see videos of like a Fallujah set that happened in Toronto, like, I don't know, like a week ago, and I was like, yeah, man, that's a pretty motionless crowd. I mean, Fallujah's thinking man death metal, I guess. But...
they're essentially a heavy prog band.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not the same though. It's like it's not meant for that crowd, and I don't know. I think that's just a really good lesson in marketing, I think, about like, you know, what gets people moving and why that's so important, and why keeping like young people involved is so important.
Oh, absolutely. Like in my old band, some of the best shows we ever played were ones where we somehow managed to get through to the local high school. Like, we'd have one opening band where I think there might have been one of age member and the rest were high school kids. And they would hand out flyers. And, like, obviously you're not going to get that a lot because most venues, they hear all ages and they're just like, we're just asking for a fucking lawsuit. Yeah,
they're not down. They are not down anymore.
Which I was always so pissed about until I started working at a bar and we got audited. It was like, oh, yeah, I totally fucking get why they wouldn't want
There's a really good reason why all ages shows aren't really a thing anymore. Or at least not in our country. I don't know, like, what happens in America. Like, but you know what?
I think America, they play shows wherever they want.
You know, obviously it was a much different time, but like, man, think about like how the high school scene in the 70s was a legitimate touring circuit.
Yeah.
Like, dude, Kiss played high school gyms.
I know.
Rush played high school gyms, and I'll be like, they probably weren't that much older. I'm sure some of them were like, you know, over the age of seniors. Of course, sure.
Did you ever go to? I know you were in KW for a while. Did you ever eat at Ethel's?
No, I don't know what that is.
It's a awesome little like, it's basically just a dive bar with really fucking good food.
Yeah,
and it's on King Street, I believe, right next to the Mr. Sub.
Oh, I probably passed by it a million times. Yeah,
you've definitely passed by it a million times. The pulled pork is fucking incredible. But yeah, they've got all these old ass posters from like the 70s and 80s. So you'll see like Kiss playing at the local high school. There's like 6 or 7 Rush posters playing at local high schools or colleges and shit. And yeah, like it's really fun to see. You're seeing like Alice Cooper playing the local fucking high school gym. It's insane.
That's so funny to me. Yeah. But you know, actually, really.
Go ahead.
I guess, yeah. What I think when I start to notice my age a bit more was when I the last time I went to a nightclub. And I'm pushing 30, right? So I noticed, because like if you think about it, like, you know, in Canada, if you're 29, you're 10 years above the legal drinking age, right?
Yep.
You notice like when I'm at like a nightclub and I'm like, 27 or 28 years old, I'm looking at the crowd, I'm like, we don't look the same, we don't talk the same, and it's like, it's so apparent to me. It's just so crazy though, like how that 10-year gap makes a huge difference. But I mean, like, hey, it's just like, the way it goes. That is like one of the phobias of aging, of like, oh my God, I am the old person in the room. But it kind of goes to show, though, if you're going to be the old person in the room, you better be a cool fucking boomer, or else people will think you're an asshole or a creep or something. And it's like, but again, rightfully so. Like, a lot of people, I think, feel bullied by the older generations, right? And like, I know I definitely feel that. Like, I don't think Gen Xers like me very much. I don't. Boomers aren't. I'm not really a boomer like friendly kind of guy. So, like, dude, I get it. So, the same thing where it's like when I go to hardcore shows and I notice the people got to be like 19 or 20, give or take. I try to be like a good audience member, a good Samaritan, and like try to like make these scenes like pleasant places where the young people don't grow up thinking that us 30-year-olds are a bunch of fucking assholes. Like, I think that's so important for me to like set that example, right? And like,
I remember like hanging out with guys like that when I was first going to like local punk shows, or even just hanging out with like the skaters downtown in Port Dover, where I spent most of my teen years. Like, they were all cool to me for the most part, beside a couple dicks here and there. So I feel like I'm at the point now where every now and then I talk to some kid and I'm saying like, and even by kid, I mean like like 19, 21, around that.
Yeah.
And I'll mention bands I've seen or some shit like that. They'll go like, whoa, really? I'm just going, fuck, I'm one of those guys now.
Yeah, man. You mean you got me? Like, you're a little bit older than me.
Feeling. Yeah.
You're a little bit older than me. When you said, yeah, dude, I saw like High and Fire at the Casbah, I was like, oh, that's actually really
cool. One that still blows my mind is I saw during orientation week at university, I saw Walk Off the Earth when they were still a 3-piece ska band.
That's actually a little above my head. I don't really know those guys. I know of them. I know like they're a popular band. I actually don't really. I met them in passing, like at a local show.
Well, when like I'm not even really into their tunes, per se, but for me it's just wild thinking. Like I've got a friend in Wales who's a huge fan, and she was gushing about how like, oh, I got to see them live. It was the greatest thing ever. I've been waiting for years to see them, and da da da. I'm just like, man, I remember seeing them playing in front of fucking nobody in like the campus bar. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Like I said, I'm not super into their music, but it was just like, I don't know, makes you feel old and cool at the same time. Does that make sense?
No, it does. I remember when I saw, but that's, like I'm at the age where that gets less impressive as time goes on, because like I've seen so much music and I've experienced so much, like like from all sorts of different genres. It takes a lot.
I thought I was jaded.
Yeah, I it takes a lot to impress me, honestly, like, because like I'm one of those people, I fully accept I just missed out on some stuff. It is what it is, right? Like I don't like fault that. I don't like get jealous about that. But I was waiting. I went to go Born and Raised in St. Catharines, and that was like the day where Lexus on Fire was headlining and Billy Talent was the co-headlining support.
A really big music scene in St. Kitts for that time period, wasn't there?
There was a big DIY hardcore and post-hardcore stuff and emo stuff. They still kind of have a little bit of that. Anyways, I'm waiting in line because festival bathroom lines are a nightmare, and an old guy, he must have been, I don't know, like 40-year-old kind of dude, so like maybe not quite double my age or whatever, and he was talking about like, yeah, I saw Lexus on Fire years ago, and I saw Billy Talent when they were like a nothing band, like playing like these DIY spaces, and I was like, fuck, man, you're so old. But you know what it is too? It's like you got this like 40-year-old, like this 45-year-old hardcore dude, but the way he talked, I was like, oh man, you would not gel with the kids, because we were talking about.
There's a way to be the cool old person and the not cool old person.
He was not the cool old hardcore guy, because I told him, he asked me because he knew I guess I let it slip that I'm a musician. Big mistake, by the way. I should never tell people that. But we started talking about guitar gear, and I told him like, yeah, like I used to have a bunch of pedals. Honestly, I sold off my shit. I want to go full digital. Like I just, just what it is, man. I got shit to do. I don't got time to fuck with that. And he's like, what? You sold all your shit? Oh, man, let me tell. And he just goes on about his fucking rig. And it's like, I can't be that guy, man. I'm going to get down the ground level. I got to know what the kids are up to. So when I talk to the kids about my gear, I don't like come off as like an old man.
I don't know, I guess for me, it's more just like, I like what I like, and if other people like it, that's cool. And if I hear some new stuff, like, oh my God, I'm really gonna fucking lay down how out of touch I am. I heard Lizzo for the first time like 2 weeks ago.
Honestly, me too. I've always knew who she was because honestly, I knew about her because of an Eric Andre skit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was on season 5. I don't even remember what the gag was, but she was on there, and I was like, oh, she seems funny. And then with this whole flute controversy that's been going around, just fucking hilarious, by the way. I actually decided to check out her music, and I was like, this is really good. This is like right up my alley,
really
dude.
Good.
Dude, she's fucking sick.
We were watching Hot Ones,
and
it was the episode with her on it, and I was just like, oh shit, she knows her shit.
She's funny. She's really funny.
She's
man.
Fucking hilarious. And I could tell just by the way she was talking about music, I would go like, okay, this isn't just some personality that they're applying to pre-written, pre-recorded, whatever shit. Like she knows her stuff. And then my girlfriend put on one of her songs, and I just went, just funky bass line kicks in, and I'm just like, okay, you got me right here.
Dude, it's party music.
And then the lyrics it's fucking great party music. Like the lyrics are clever, the music's really well written. It's just it's got that old school like Motown funky vibe, but with just enough modern shit to make it really like unique and make it really relevant.
It's a really good extension.
She fucking rules.
It's a really good extension of what was established in previous R&B kind of trends, and it just modernizes it. It just makes it like the pop sensibilities are exactly what it needs to be. It still has, good guitar playing, good bass line. I don't remember if all of her songs have drummers. I'm going to assume a lot of it's drum machines, but I mean, like,
probably,
dude, like it's just a really good interpretation of that style. And another good one that I think who blows my mind, one of my favorite. I guess you would call her a pop artist per se, but Remy Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who that is?
Not familiar, no.
Oh, dude, she's so good. If you like Lizzo, I think Remy Wolf, in my mind, is like my favorite artist of this genre. I'm sure she's a Toronto gal, and like she's a singer. And dude, just like straight up like modern R&B, but more in the party vibe. So it's not like I really want to make a distinction because I know like for older people when I say R&B, they might think of like TLC and like Boys to Men and stuff like that. I want to make myself abundantly clear.
There's
I am
so
not
many
down.
different versions.
I am not down with that version of R&B. Like I don't mind it, but I like the more modern interpretations of neo soul and R&B. Anyways, yeah, dude, she's awesome. Remy Wolf is the shit. She has an album called I'm Allergic to Dogs. Well, it's an EP or whatever, but fucking amazing. Her album Juno.
I feel her pain.
Yeah, man. She has like kind of big time Amy Winehouse vibes, but way more fun. Way more fun and less like adult contemporary.
Yeah, I didn't.
You'll know what I mean when you listen. Like,
okay, yeah, I'll check it out. Yeah, that sounds cool.
So we've been running for almost 2 hours here. So
I was gonna say, we're getting pretty late.
I got to work late tomorrow, so I'm staying up for a while, and I got to make my girlfriend dinner and stuff. But before we go, give me a shitty musical opinion you have, besides everything else we've talked about.
Let's see, shitty musical opinion.
Just say a genre sucks. No, sorry, go ahead. I cut you off.
Pop punk. I'm sorry. I don't get it.
We're gonna be here for 2 more hours. My God.
The least appealing thing to me ever is basically just hearing some 30-something-year-old guy going, life in high school is really hard. Like that's all I can fucking hear when I hear that shit. I despise Blink-182. Sum 41, they have some redeeming factors, but for the most part, not feeling it. I fully acknowledge that a lot of the punk I like would probably be called pop punk by like more hardcore guys. I know Rancid's poppy. I guess I can't like Leftover Crack anymore because turns out Stiz is a fucking abusive piece of shit.
Would have guessed it.
But yeah, no, I fucking can't stand Blink-182.
Yeah.
And there are a few things that drive me nuts more than having, I guess speaking of the MySpace days, having a band that has a really sick, heavy fucking riff, shredding guitars, like awesome drums, growls and shit, and then all of a sudden a chorus kicks in and, oh, wine, 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 wine. I can't do it. I cannot do it. I'm sorry. I've tried. I can't. I
am a pop punk guy. That's my hot take actually, is that I do like pop punk. But here's the problem with your hot take is that this is a predominantly metal audience.
Yeah, I know. That's why before I said it, that's the thing. Before I said it, I was just like, this isn't controversial for this group.
No, you got a controversial opinion out there somewhere.
I gotta have something.
You gotta have something, man. I gotta like say Phil Anselmo isn't racist or something. Like,
I did just listen to the Pantera episode too.
Yeah, that was good time.
That made me so sad when he jumped up and said white power, because it seemed like he was getting his shit together. It seemed like it really felt to me like, oh, it was the fucking alcohol and heroin. He seems cool now.
Nah.
And then he did that, and I was just like, nope, no more chances. Nope, I'm fucking done.
This is what he's into. I had to be that guy,
like,
guys.
Guys, like, you know what? NOLA is a fucking incredible album, but okay, you know what? Here's my hot take.
Okay,
Down is better than Pantera.
That's a hot take, dude. I like Down. You know what's funny? Before I asked you to come on and just talk about shit, I was actually going to suggest, do you want to do a Down episode?
When I was thinking about who I'd want to cover, I was going to say Faith No More.
How many albums do they have? I probably could have swung that. They had like 5.
Yeah, it's 5 or 6. It's not that many, just because like
I probably could have done that. Yeah.
Well, the drummer played with Ozzy for a long time.
Yeah.
And then Mike Patton has 8,000 fucking projects. But I feel like Faith No More would be kind of cheating on my part because I like all their albums.
No, that's fine. I do it all the time.
Some I like more than others, but
I made dude, that's the whole shtick of the show. Let me boil down the deep dive formula in a nutshell. I pitch a band I know really well, so I don't have to work very hard. Aaron pitches a band he knows really hard, so he doesn't have to work very hard. And every so often, the takes boil down to this. Mark like popular thing. Aaron don't like popular thing. We argue about popular thing. Sometimes we agree on popular thing. That is the show's formula, essentially boiled down.
I got it. Okay,
into its bare components, yeah. Me liking a thing and Aaron not understanding why I like a thing. Even after I explain it really thoroughly. That's like our whole show. And then me berating Aaron. That's the other half of the show.
So your take on Iron Maiden makes a lot of sense if you're taking that approach. If I was to start with the first record and work all the way up, I would probably have a bad taste in my mouth for them too.
You know, my problem is I'm a Wikipedia music guy. That's how I got into music.
Yeah. You know what? I got into a lot of new shit that way too.
That's how I grew up, man. I want to know what a band or a genre was. Oh, I just look up Wikipedia. Oh, okay, it's there for me chronologically. All right, cool. Then the research was done, and I just Googled everything, and I listen to stuff in order, man. That's how I operate. Unless it's a new band. If it's a new band, I'll just pick the first song that's the top of the Spotify. If that doesn't grip me, you fucked up. So I really hope your first song is like the best song, and whatever. Anyways, I'm gonna let you go.
Yeah. All right.
Everyone, thank you so much for that. Whatever this was, this nonsense episode. This is my good friend Alec McRae. We love you. You love him.
We're a happy family.
We are a happy family. Be nice to people at shows. Be nice to the kids. They're figuring their stuff out. That's the moral of the story. Slam thoughts are a thing. Also, be nice to slam thoughts. I should have been more clear about that. I don't want to sound like an asshole. Be nice to them.
Some of the nicest people I know are slam thoughts.
If people
a slam thought rescued my mom from fire.
Exactly. And also, some of y'all need to hear this. I don't know who. Some of y'all got to be nicer to women at shows.
Oh, fucking 100%.
Okay, I had to redeem myself because I'm like, slam thought. That was kind of a mean thing I said. We like slam thoughts. We at your Deep Dive Discography appreciate them and their listenership and their whatever. Fuck it. Anyways, Alec McRae. Listen to Wolf Leather. You can find us on Spotify. We have a Patreon. Not Wolf Leather. Deep Dive as a Patreon. Subscribe.
Why don't we have a Patreon?
Because no one would pay into it.
Yeah, you're right. The $6 I've made off Bandcamp is more than we'd make off Patreon.
Hey. Bye, everybody.
Bye.